Are you looking for actionable insights from the world's most inspiring individuals? The Built by Love podcast is on a mission to transform your life, your business, and your health. Tune in for impactful conversations with people who do business differently. Avoid burnout, acquire freedom, and live life fully on your own terms. With me, Pete Daly-Dickson, alongside Daniel Bussius. We're taught as business owners to serve the starving crowd. Any crowd will do, in fact. If you're big corporate, then starving them before you serve them is even better. But when your business is built by love, the work matters. So it can pay to take more of a creative approach.
I was born in, Washington, D.C., and then grew up in Maryland, a little small town called Bowie, Maryland, and a divorced mom that was disabled. No support from my father. I've since mended things, and my father's a great man now, but it was just my mom and I. Growing up, she would take me to the fabric store and buy fabric and sew my clothes for me. And if I was lucky enough to get like one cool brand of something, I'm going to age myself, like Guess jeans, she would sew the patch off the back pocket and put it on the next pair. So I still had Guess jeans, even though they weren't really Guess jeans. Just watching as I aged and became more aware of the trials and tribulations and struggles and fears that she had of all the things, and realizing that there is a way to overcome that. And really, at the end of the day, it's about the impact you make with others that's going to change the trajectory rather than just look inward, right? And I think I learned that from witnessing it from what my mom did. She's a wonderful woman, and just watching that and then applying that into my life and saying, I'm never going to have my family struggle like I did, but it built me to who I am. And if I can help others to overcome even the smallest of challenges or stumbles in life, then that's my purpose. That's my calling. I could have just looked to like a company like Pepsi-Cola that I had done a lot of work with and just said, I want a job, get me a job, and just being an employee and get health benefits and all that stuff. I think it's just the creative nature that came from my childhood of, and being an only child with a single mom. The mom has to try to take care of the household and feed the family and make sure there's, the laundry's washed and there's food on the table. For the majority of my childhood, I was left to play on my own. Not that she was abandoning me, but she was taking care of the home and cooking the food and doing that stuff. And so I was really kind of left, and she was disabled too. So she wasn't going to be on the floor, playing toys or building Legos, and so I was just left on my own. I think that's where the creative spirit was born, of just creating things to entertain and control my world as a child. And so that spoke to me of building this company. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of how it came out of.
Initially, I didn't really know why Daniel wanted me to co-host a podcast with him. But the more I've thought about it, with the journey that I've been on as a young child, I was always, wanting the spotlight. I was the performer and was involved in school plays and things, and went to drama school and, had the dream, and that dream didn't work out. And my non-straight line journey went off somewhere else. I went into IT and what have you. My life's kind of come almost back full circle to that realization that I'm an artist, I'm a creator, I'm an actor. And podcasts with entrepreneurs talking and hosting are a dime a dozen. You just go to the business category on Apple Podcasts and, you just throw a dart at it and you've got them. But I think the thing that is going to separate Built by Love podcast apart from others is that there is so much that the entrepreneurial world can benefit and borrow from the world of the arts. Arts is about imagination. It's about creativity. It's about love at the end of the day. You can't put something on the stage and expect an audience to be riveted and engaged for 2 hours if love is not absolutely at the core of what you've built, what you've built in rehearsal to get to that point.
I've had the opportunity over nearly 30 years of doing marketing. I've worked with many Fortune 100 brands, many Fortune 500 brands, celebrities, New York Times bestselling authors, and small business owners from all over the world, every continent except for Antarctica, right? Maybe one day. The point is this is, as a small company, you're out there and you know why you're doing things, right? And especially when you get to interact with the founders and their teams and they're like, "Hey, we're helping people because they're struggling with this thing and we know our product is great and it's going to solve this," and they're really passionate and they're communicating that. And then they have success because it resonates and they're actually doing good and they know they're guiding light. They're building love for that specific thing that is important to them and their customers, their audience, and then they grow and middle management comes in and then it gets bigger and bigger. And then the goalposts and the goals themselves change. They actually start playing a different game. And that different game is no longer about that great travesty that they're out there to solve for the people, their people. It's revenue, it's growth, product expansion, right? And so they lose their focus. And I've witnessed it with so many different brands that I've either consulted with or that we've done marketing for. I call it a great travesty. So your business has to have a purpose of why you exist. And it's not just to like make things a little bit easier. That's not a great travesty. For example, if small business owners are struggling and they can't overcome this and this is causing all of these things like these pains, that's a great travesty because why are you failing in your business? You shouldn't be failing. You have the right product and the right dedication and the right team and blah 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 blah. But you're failing, and you're going to potentially you could go out of business because of this. That's not fair to you. That's a travesty. We are going to solve for this, and at every step of the way, they need to reinforce that, and their product or service is that solution. And when those companies get in the millions, I'm talking like not seven. It's usually not seven figures. It's usually eight figures is where they start to lose that. Then what happens is then the middle management and all the other employees are just focused on their KPI and that big growth number, and customer service starts to decline, the customer experience starts to decline, and then enter in things like we can reduce this cost by doing this. And eventually, what happens is those companies, when they hit scale, start chasing features and benefits and then wonder why they're losing customers and why they're losing market share. And there's few brands out there that have figured out how to build that tribe, and those people love them. And if you can figure that out by instilling why you exist and the problem you're solving for your people, and you scream it from the mountaintop to your people, they'll stick with you because they're going to love you. And everyone that joins your team is going to know their purpose and they're going to love what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I think that's what businesses need to focus on as AI and technology and, society gets more and more fragmented from the reality of experiences and all these things. What do we have left is love and experiences and integrity and trust. And you can't build that by just trying to make your product a little bit cheaper. That's irrelevant in the big picture. It really is. And I'd say that one, statistically speaking, and don't hold me to this number, but I believe it's something like over 80% of the S&P 500, when you look over decades, drops off, right? There are still blue chip companies that have been there for a long time, but the statistical average of those that were the giants in their time no longer exist. And so if you just look back a couple decades ago and you look at Microsoft, we could get into the weeds and say, well, Microsoft invested in Apple and, blah, 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 blah. But the point is this is Microsoft owned everything and Apple was this upstart. And who was ever going to use an iPhone for your business functionality? That's insane, right? Look at Apple has become the dominating force. And again, if you go back and you look at Blockbuster Entertainment, for those people in the United States, I don't know if they were in other countries, but Blockbuster Entertainment was how you rented your DVDs, and then Netflix came in, right, with a better experience. And so I do think if companies are focused on giving better experiences and better quality and focused on really for their customers to love what they're getting from that company, no one is impervious to that. That change will happen. It may take time, and it will take time, but every company will falter if they don't focus on that. I think we're seeing that more and more with these legacy brands out there that are becoming more and more irrelevant, going bankrupt, closing down. And I'd say it's because they didn't focus on that. If you're an entrepreneur, you're a creator. And if you're going to get out there in the world and sell whatever product or service that your business is, you have to create a connection with your audience, and you have to weave them into a story that they're engaged enough that they commit to you. And so I think it's, and I talk about it, I wrote a book about it, of how you need to build experiences, you need to build love and relationships with your customers and your prospects, and then they'll follow you to the ends of the earth, right? It's very rare in this world. So many business owners are focused on the wrong things. And time again, we're seeing these legacy brands shutting down and going bankrupt because they're not following love. They're not building love, right? They've focused on everything else. In a world that is seeing massive transformation and change across all channels, all different industries, the time is more relevant now than ever to have someone like Pete be the sidekick on this, because we need someone that believes in crafting that story and engaging that audience and getting them to commit and stay focused and tuned to that play, that movie, that show, right? I'm not saying that marketing is a show. I'm saying that at the end of the day, everything that matters is based off of experience, and experience ties back to feelings. And those feelings are created from stories that we've heard and then retold into our head. So every belief we have, every action we take, there's a story and meaning behind it. We need to craft those for ourselves and for others. And so what better person to do that than Pete, that's lived in both of those worlds as being an artist and an entrepreneur.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Built by Love podcast. If you found the conversation inspiring or helpful in any way, then head to builtbylove.com/podcast and make sure you're subscribed to our email list. Please also take a few minutes to leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, and share this episode with a friend that you think it might help. Each review helps us to spread the message of love to more people. See you next time on the Built by Love podcast.